Good evening. Today I'll be presenting the visual rhetoric for the oral rhetorical criticism number 3. This is based on the ribbon cover story that was shown for the April 20th of 2007 tragedy that happened at Virginia Tech. Let me begin by saying that there are times when words cannot express what images can. Sometimes it really takes for us to believe, to confirm, or debunk the views we hold in our heads. There are several popular sayings that says seeing is believing, or picture is worth 1,000 words. An image can present the truth or reality that otherwise cannot be realized. And there are also instances when images can be so riveting and so impactful that they can prompt change and encourage audiences to examine pressing questions and issues relative to social and human conditions. Such was the case for the Virginia Tech shooting. What I will try to analyze in this rhetorical criticism is I will try to point out how it effectively communicated the gravity of the tragedy without being too overwhelming or insensitive to the readers and the victims, and how it highlighted the principles of visual rhetoric. So to begin, let me go ahead and talk about how it conveys the enormity of the tragedy. Obviously, it's a very important issue till this day. It's very sensitive, and it continues to plague and disrupt our culture and our nation's youth. So the text quotes that visual messages are efficient, emotional, and antimemetic in the way they persuade. So just to take a look at the message as it relates to the readers and the victims, the questions took on a greater meaning and relevance in the environment and context they were presented in. The ribbon, the way the questions were formed in the ribbon. Because the ribbon is associated with awareness, the questions tell the readers that the incident needs to be revisited and reanalyzed. At the same time, it conveys to victims that it is a very important issue, that the nation, along with the efforts of the media, will not cease to seek answers, and that the lost victims will not be forgotten. And that happens because what the ribbon represents. Now, the questions are repeated, and there's importance to that. The symbolism is that how history has a tendency to repeat itself, and the need to examine important issues and ourselves especially thoroughly. If you all also notice, the first question in the ribbon inquires about a setting and a context. It asks about what happened. Toward the end of that, on the two sides of the ribbon, it asks questions that are more conclusive, that seek an answer, a solution. And finally, the use of the victim's name is also important. It uses the name, and what it does is it identifies with the public, and it further centralizes the message, and it creates intimacy with the reader's victims. Now, the absence of the gunman's name, of the perpetrator's name, it signifies his lack of worth in the tragedy. Now, the principles of visual rhetoric, some of them are that since the ribbon again does not have a distinct shape and is instead composed of curves and lines, the emotional appeal is contingent on the connotation of the ribbon. In terms of shaped spaces, questions are presented in a linear manner, and so it implies that the line of reason that follows has to be logical. But if you'll notice, some of the questions do not actually, cannot be explained logically. For example, why would he kill people he doesn't know? Why was Emil Hirsch first? Now let's look at balance and direction. The symmetry of the ribbon and the direction in which the questions are read from left to right are key to the ultimate visual rhetoric. First of all, they are very appealing to the eye, and they are simple to follow. Now, for the color and lighting, there is, of course, a very important element. Black and white is used in this case. Now, black and white, according to the text, it signifies polarized issues, or in some cases it's used for classical pieces. And in the case of the Virginia Tech, the ribbon, it was the former. It's a polarized issue. Now, just to wrap it up, what we did discuss is we went ahead and we discussed the appeal to the readers and to the victims. And we also highlighted some of the visual principles that the visual rhetoric used and the message that it portrayed. In conclusion, rhetoric is often characterized by a particular message that is disseminated and interpreted through written form or speech, and there's not much consideration given to the visual aspect of it. Yet, regardless of anyone's notion, visual rhetoric is pervasive in our culture more than any other. You can see that anywhere you go, really. Images are very important nowadays. They have always been, actually. And it is a powerful communication tool that appeals to its audiences when used properly, and ultimately it demands change.